Thank you very much for that introduction. So I'm Nick, and I've got Lawrence here and also Nanda, and we're the software engineers that work on TerriaJS. Whoa, exactly. So to start with, audience participation, to make sure you're all awake. Can people just put their hands up if they've heard of Terria? Well,
Dog, right?
Yeah, Terria like the dog, yes. Okay, that's more than I thought, so that's good. How many people have heard of Cesium? Similar? Yeah, cool. Who's used a Terria map? Okay, yep. Who's developed a Terria map? Well, you're all my favourite people in the room, but that's good, thank you. So as I said, we're the software engineers that work on Terria. My name's Nick, Lawrence and Nanda are beside me. And as far as what we're going to talk about today, I'm going to start by giving you a bit of an intro to TerriaJS. Because it sounds like a lot of people here have some experience with it, I might go through it a bit more quickly so we can talk about features instead. But that's nice that a lot of people are familiar with it. After that, we'll talk about the current state. So the new features that we've been working on over the past 12 months, how our documentation's improved and what we're doing to kind of up our community support on GitHub and that kind of thing. And then we'll also talk about the future state, so what we actually plan to achieve in the next 12 months. So what is TerriaJS? So I like to think of TerriaJS as a web-based 2D, 3D spatial data viewer. So if you're familiar with Cesium, Terria is quite closely integrated or coupled with Cesium, I'd say. It's kind of a layer on top of Cesium. So you imagine you've got your 3D globe that Cesium provides. Terria sits on top of that, allows you to connect to over 50 different data formats and APIs, and we also provide some really nice tools to allow you to explore those different types of data that I'll show in a little bit. I've underlined full framework because that's quite important. Terria is quite a heavy thing. If you're trying to make a custom application and you want a 3D map or you want a 2D map, Terria is probably not the thing for you. Where Terria really shines is if you use the user interface we've built, use all the tools that we've built. So it really is a full framework for building web applications. And so I also want to emphasize that it's not for analytics. It's a tool for data visualization and data discovery. So if you're expecting a full GIS platform, you're not going to get one. A lot of the hard work's already been done by us. So it's a full framework. We've tried to build tools that work really well with Terria, and so you get these out of the box, basically. I like to break TerriaJS down into three main components. So you've got your catalogue, which is just your simple kind of folder structure. We've also got a search function there as well. We've got our map with our 3D globe and also our 2D view. And then we've got the data controls. So I've shown one example here of this symbology editor that we've made that allows you to change the colors and other, styling rules for particular types of data, as an example. And so this is a really cool one because it's actually a 300 megabyte GeoJSON file that I've just dragged into the browser, and it shows tree canopies in Melbourne. So it's one of my favorite data sets to show. So how do we do this? Well, FOSS4G, obviously. TypeScript is the language we use. React and MobX for the front-end web development. As I said, Leaflet and Cesium we heavily rely on, especially Cesium. And then we've got a few other wonderful open source geospatial libraries in there as well, like ProtoMaps, which has been getting a lot of buzz lately. And then D3, greatest data visualization library of all time. I'm sure some people won't agree with that, but I'm going to say it. TurfJS, great geospatial kind of analytics, library in JavaScript. We also rely on a lot of other JavaScript modules, as you do with web applications. So as far as TerriaJS and what kind of maps we actually build for people, I like to split it up into our fully open maps, which are very much just TerriaJS, open source TerriaJS. Everything I show you, you can do yourself. These are mostly client-side heavy applications. So it's about running Terria in your web browser, being able to connect to different data sources and load them in your web browser. We don't have server-side components or anything like that. And one thing to stress is that everything I show you is the same code base, but with different configuration. So as I'm flicking through the maps, you'll see different logos, different colors, that kind of thing. It's the same code base, but we've just got different configuration for each one. And then we've also got our partially open maps. So this is more of a digital twin focus. So if you've used New South Wales, Queensland or Victoria digital twin, it is still TerriaJS, but we've got some custom components in there. We've also got kind of more server-side stuff going on. So we may have, real-time data conversion, support for proprietary formats and that kind of thing. And then also, your enterprise, auth control, that kind of stuff. So I'm not really going to be talking into that. This talk, I'm not going to go into that, but if you're interested, find us and we'll chat about it. So our first map, national map, that we all know and love, created in 2014. We have about 14,000 federated datasets in National Map. And so I've underlined federated there because we do not store any of the data. We only have about 1,000 datasets that we've manually curated in that list. Everything else is coming from, 40 or so different data portals around the country. And so it means that you can go to one web app, National Map, and you can browse all of these open data pools around the country, and it will all just happen locally in your browser. There are no servers or anything that we control. And so I kind of go into that here, 46 open data portals, so you think like data.gov.au is the biggest one, but we've also got, the list from Tasmania, or you've got all your state government, Esri-based services and that kind of thing, that Terria can then browse and allow you to discover and visualise data on those services. I've got a nice example here of a CSV. So this is showing some power generation data. And you can kind of see that it might be a bit hard to see, but each point represents a power station, and the colour is showing you the percentage of the maximum capacity of that station. And you can then click on that and get a nice little time series chart. Two of my favourite maps, probably my two most favourite Terria maps, Digital Earth Australia and Digital Earth Africa. Geoscience Australia are here, so go chat to them about Digital Earth stuff. We also have the Pacific community here, so go talk to them about the Digital Earth Pacific program. So I'm sure you're all familiar with these programs, but basically Sentinel, Landsat satellite imagery that gets processed by Open Data Cube, and then we've got these wonderful web services published from that. And you've also got these really amazing products that they make. So on the left, you've got this coastline that shows how it changes over time. And then on the right, I actually don't know what that is, but it's very pretty. So a nice example of something you can do with Terria. So we've got two web map service layers coming from Open Data Cube, and you can see that it's time series. So Terria's added a little time component. And we've also got the ability to show different time slices on each side of the screen. So you can do a very quick kind of visual comparison of changes over time. This also shows off the story feature. So that little panel you see there with text, you can create multiple scenes in Terria, write a bit of text, send it to someone. So it's a really easy way of kind of doing some sort of storytelling with maps, with all the data that Terria supports. Another fun map that's made within CSIRO, GeoGlam Wrap. And so this shows a really nice version of our integration with web processing service. And so I said Terria doesn't do analytics. It doesn't, but we integrate with other APIs that can do analytics. So in this case, I've drawn a polygon on a map. I've sent it off to a WPS server, and then it's spat out a CSV. And so this is showing, what is this showing? Vegetation cover. So vegetation cover derived from satellite imagery, as you get these amazing graphs over quite a long period of time. Pacific map, because we have SPC here, I should talk about this. So this is operated by them, but it was developed with us within CSIRO a few years ago. And so this integrates with two of their open data portals. So you've got CCAN, which I'm sure most people are familiar with because it gets used by a lot of state governments in Australia. And so that means that they can control all of their catalogue within that and just browse it in Terria. And so anything that's supported will appear in Terria. We also integrate with their STMX, which is a very complicated API for publishing statistical data. So it allows you to browse and kind of visualise that on the map. How am I going? 9 minutes. I'll just show one more example. So we've just added a bit of extra support for NCWMS. So I apologise for all the jargon here, but this is what Threads publishes. And so it means if you have a Thread server with time-based data, you can now click on a point and it will give you that pixel drill automatically. So that's a very cool feature. So all of these maps are open. It's all open source TerriaJS. It's just different configuration. So anything you've seen there, you can do as well. If there's a particular data set you find in one of these maps and you want to know how it's done, send us a message and we can show you. Or, obviously you can poke around. It's all JSON, so you can see where it's all coming from. There's a lot of functionality that I haven't shown you, but I think I've kind of given you a good taste of what you can do. Another nice thing about Terria is that you don't need to host your own. So if you go to a Terria map, like National Map, Digital Earth Australia, you could drag and drop spatial data onto it. For example, a shape file in a zip, a GeoJSON. You can also add your own web services. So if you have your own geo server and you want to be able to see your layers on top of, Digital Earth Australia layers, you can just copy and paste a URL into one of our, or anyone's maps, for that matter. Obviously, it's within a web browser, so if you try and do a gigabyte GeoJSON, it's not going to work well. But it works, for a few hundred megabytes or so. So as far as community adoption, I won't go through all the logos, but we've had some pretty nice pickup from different companies around the world. And yeah, I might just leave it at that. But if anyone's got any questions about how other people are using Terria, come and find us. I'm going to show one more map because this is very cool. I don't know what's showing because I can't read Japanese at all, but I highly recommend looking at the Tokyo Digital Twin because they have a lot of data. And so this kind of shows you how far you can push Terria if you really want to show super, super rich 3D data environments. And so this fun example I found the other day, it shows some river data around Tokyo, and if you click on a point, it actually shows you the live camera feed in a window. This is the first time I've seen that, but really, I thought that was pretty cool. All right, now to talk about some of the new features we've built, I'm going to introduce Nanda.
Hey, yeah, so I'll be talking about new features we have added in the last 1 year. So top of the list is the big Cesium upgrade. So basically we went from Cesium 1.92 to 1.11, which was a big upgrade for us because there were some structural changes within the Cesium code base. Yeah, so, but with that upgrade, we get a couple of cool features, which is the next version of 3D tiles. So as you can see in that image, maybe like, so 3D tiles next comes with more granular support for metadata. So what that basically means is you can attach metadata at the tile set level down to a pixel level. So that could be useful for, let's say, describing what a wall is made of, granite or window or something like that. The other thing you get is access to Google 3D photorealistic mesh. Yeah, Google now publishes that as a 3D tiles format, and it has global coverage. So that's pretty useful. Yeah, another feature added in the past year is the ability to connect to Cesium Ion portal directly and import data sets from there. So Cesium Ion is this cloud portal service run by Cesium, which lets you convert formats into formats that are supported by Cesium, like 3D tiles, terrain, or point clouds. So with this feature, you can easily import and show those data sets and present that in Terria. Then another feature that we have added is the clipping box, which basically lets you clip a small portion of larger tile set. So in this example, we are clipping a small portion of the Google 3D mesh, which spans the entire globe. So you can interactively select a portion of that. And once you have done that, you can add it as part of your story and share it with someone else. Yeah, the other thing that we have added is the support for COG. So you can basically just copy-paste a cog URL into Terria and visualize it. So the image on the left is showing the cog overlaid on 3D terrain. And you can also inspect values within the cog. Yeah. So yeah, this is another thing that's been integrated into Terria. And so if you have 3D data in a scene server, you can easily copy-paste the URL into Terria and explore it. Yeah. Same with ArcGIS image server and ArcGIS tile map server. I think the last thing I'll probably touch on is we have added experimental support for plugins, so which means if you want to build out a custom workflow, you don't have to fork and modify Terria. You can just create a plugin for it and load it during runtime. So yeah, yeah. For the next part, Lawrence. Yeah.
Hi. So the other thing we've been working on over the last 12 months is our documentation. One of our lucky team members got to go through and add a sort of complete example to every type of data we support. And we've also contributed a lot to our user guide. Something else we'd like to work on. If you came to our workshop yesterday, you would have seen that editing a catalogue, it's a bit clunky. What we'd really like is something similar to Cesium's Sandcastle, where you can just edit your catalogue or config of your Terria map and see those changes straight away. We've also continued getting more translations from all around the world, which is really nice to see, that adoption. We're also in the process of hiring a dedicated community manager. So this is someone who will be responding to community concerns, active in the discussion forum, but also driving the community engagement in our open source. And a big shout out to everyone who's contributed to TerriaJS over the years. We've got some top contributors there. Over the previous slides with new features, you might have seen the little love heart emoji at the bottom. So yeah, thanks for everyone that's helping make TerriaJS better. So in terms of the future, over the next 12 months, one of our big focuses is actually doing an overhaul of the UI. A lot of features have been added over the years, and it's not always consistent, the sort of patterns they follow. So we'd just like to modernize it a bit and yeah, have more of a sort of design language so that things are consistent. I mentioned before the interactive examples editor, improving documentation, and a big focus on bug fixes and generally just improving developer experience. So yeah, we really want to make it like a top-class product to work with. We're also working on a Terria map builder, so yeah, have a chat with us if that's something that sounds interesting to you. So yeah, here's a preview of what the new UI may look like. This is still extremely early days, but we do have a demo map up, so come and have a chat with us if that's something that would interest you. And yeah, this is once again a very early prototype of what that interactive editor may look like. So no more copying and pasting just URLs into URLs, something that's just embedded and you can just see your changes in real time. So thanks for listening. You may have noticed we're running a survey. It'd be really great because it's especially for that improving developer experience. It'd be really great to hear what you need from Terria, how you use it, what you'd like to see us work on. So thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. We've got time for 1 or 2 questions if anybody's got a question for the Terria team that's here.
Hey team, how's it going? Just any thoughts on Bentley acquiring Cesium and how that impacts what you're doing?
I'll leave you to that one.
I'll chat to you about it later. You know, in all seriousness, I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. It's exciting, you know. We don't know what the outcome will be, but could be good, could be bad. I'm trying to be diplomatic.
Yeah, the interaction between commercial and capitalism and open source, you know. Just a technical question. What sort of plugins can you make? Is it like adding things on the view, or what sort of criteria for plugins do you have?
Yeah, I think we have used it internally to develop a scene editor plugin, which lets you basically drag and drop a GLTF model onto the map. Yeah, so you can build workflows that interact with the map, or, you know, capture some user data and do some processing. Yeah.
Any other questions? It's a long way away. No, we need it on the microphone for the video. Got just enough time for a joke. Oh no, too close.
You mentioned in your talk about community engagement and wanting to listen to users and everything. What's the mechanism for engaging with the Terria team? Is it just the GitHub discussions, or do you have a forum where you actually discuss more than sort of offline GitHub issues?
That's a great question. So yeah, currently probably the GitHub discussion board is the main point of contact apart from emails and issues. Yeah, but we're open to suggestions. Like, we considered the idea of having a Discord, so there's that more sort of real time. But yeah, please come chat with us if you have ideas, because it's something we'd like to improve, of reducing that friction for people to get a hold of us or share ideas.
Thank you, guys. Round of applause for Nick, Nanda, and Lawrence.